So imagine you're sitting in a glass-walled boardroom,
Okay, I'm picturing it.
and there are, literally millions of dollars on the line. The tension is just incredibly thick.
Right, everyone's sweating a little bit.
Exactly. And your American counterpart leans across this big mahogany table, looks you dead in the eye, and says, "We aren't playing softball here. You need to step up to the plate, or we're going to pull this deal before you even take a swing."
Oh, wow. Yeah, that is an intense moment.
It is. And if you didn't grow up in the United States, you might look around and wonder if you somehow accidentally wandered into a sports stadium instead of a corporate merger.
Yeah, you'd be totally lost.
You're sitting there scanning the room for a bat, trying to figure out what a softball has to do with your third quarter profit margins.
Which induces this very specific kind of visceral panic, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Because you understand every single English word they just said individually.
Right. You know what a plate is. You know what a swing is.
Exactly. But string together in that sentence, the meaning is completely impenetrable. It is the absolute definition of a coded language, just hiding in plain sight.
And that is exactly what we are decoding for you today. So welcome to the deep dive.
Thanks for having me.
Because if you've spent any time at all trying to navigate American corporate environments or, deciphering those incredibly dense business emails.
They can be so dense.
Or trying to hold your own in high-stakes meetings with U.S. clients, you've definitely hit this wall.
Oh, everyone hits it eventually.
So the core premise we pulled from our sources today is just fascinating to me. Native American English speakers aren't actually talking about business in these meetings.
No, not at all.
They are conducting their professional lives entirely through the metaphor of sports.
Yeah, and our objective here isn't just to, hand you a localized glossary and say, hey, memorize these 10 phrases so you don't look confused.
Right, that wouldn't be very helpful in the long run.
No, we really want to get under the hood here. We need to understand the underlying psychology of this phenomenon.
The why of it all.
Exactly. Why do the physical realities of these specific games translate so flawlessly to aggressive negotiations or admitting you made a terrible mistake or signaling a guaranteed success?
It's just unavoidable. The sources we're looking at highlight that this terminology, which is largely pulled from baseball, American football, and basketball, is absolutely ubiquitous.
Ubiquitous is the perfect word for it. It's everywhere.
It saturates business meetings, casual break room chats, even high-level political debates. Mastering this specific subset of vocabulary is essentially the fastest way to integrate into U.S. culture and, sound like a local.
It really is the cheat code.
But I want to push on that why you mentioned.
Yeah.
Why did corporate America choose sports as its universal vernacular?
Well, you have to look at how it functions as a psychological framing device.
Go ahead, tell me more about that.
So the American corporate world is notorious for its intensity, right? It's heavily driven by quarterly earnings, high-stakes competition, and a fairly ruthless pace.
Definitely. It can be a pressure cooker.
Right. So by constantly filtering those daily interactions through the language of sports, the culture is essentially taking a cutthroat, highly stressful reality and framing it as just a competitive game.
I hear that, but it almost feels like a shield to me.
A shield? How so?
Like wearing a corporate uniform.
Yeah.
You put on the suit and tie, and that establishes a baseline for your physical appearance.
Sure.
But this sports terminology, it acts as the agreed-upon dress code for your speech.
Yeah.
You put it on to mask what's actually happening in the room.
Oh, that's a really sharp way to look at it. Yeah, it signals to everyone in the room, I know the environment we are operating in, and I know the boundaries of acceptable behavior.
Right, because a game, by definition, has rules.
Exactly. It has rules, it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. It has teams.
Which makes it predictable.
Yes. Taking a situation that might otherwise feel overwhelmingly terrifying, like losing your job or failing a major client, and placing it within the framework of a game, well, it provides everyone with a shared structural safety net.
But does it actually do that? This is where I kind of get stuck.
What do you mean?
Does filtering aggressive business tactics through the language of a game actually soften the harshness of corporate life? Or does it just give people a free pass to be terrible to each other?
Oh, that is a really good question.
Right. Like if I am completely ruthless to you in a negotiation, but I use a sports metaphor, am I somehow absolving myself? Am I basically saying, hey, nothing personal, we're just playing the game?
It definitely acts as a psychological buffer. And yes, sometimes it's a highly convenient one for bad behavior.
So it's a bit of an excuse.
It can be. It allows for intense aggression while maintaining this veneer of professional sportsmanship. Think about the physical distance it creates, you know?
The distance between the words and the action.
Yeah, you aren't attacking your coworker's character. You are just tackling a problem.
Oh, I see.
You aren't destroying a rival company and ruining livelihoods. You are just shutting out the competition. It removes the personal animosity and replaces it with this idea of strategic competition.
That makes a lot of sense. So to see how this buffer actually functions on, say, a Tuesday morning at 9 a.m., let's look at the sport that seems to dictate the everyday rhythms of the American office more than any other.
Let's do it.
We are starting with baseball.
Baseball is so fascinating in this context.
Why baseball specifically?
Because it's a game of distinct pacing. It has these really long stretches of relatively low-pressure routine, punctuated by moments of extreme high-speed action.
Oh, like standing around the outfield waiting for something to happen.
Exactly. And the vocabulary it gave to the corporate world mirrors that duality perfectly.
Sources pull out two incredibly contrasting metaphors to illustrate this, which I love. We have to touch base and to play hardball.
Two absolute classics.
I want to look at what's actually happening on the dirt field first, because the spatial reality of baseball dictates exactly how the phrase is used.
Yeah, let's visualize touching base.
Okay, set the scene for us.
So in baseball, you have a player running around the dirt infield, trying to advance, while the opposing team actively tries to get them out.
Right, to eliminate them from the play.
Exactly. But there are 4 physical safe zones anchored to the ground. The bases.
Just big canvas bags on the dirt.
Yeah. And the rules dictate that the moment a runner puts their physical foot on that base, they are completely safe. Nobody can touch them. They can catch their breath.
So the literal physical action is making contact with the protected zone.
Yes, it's a moment of respite.
Translating that to a Tuesday morning email, when a manager writes, "I just wanted to touch base," they are initiating this very light, standard, casual check-in.
Right. It feels totally innocuous.
The language intentionally invokes that physical safe zone. If I say I'm just touching base regarding the Q3 marketing budget, I'm signaling that this isn't a high-stakes interrogation.
It's polite. It's low pressure.
I'm just tapping my foot on the safe zone to make sure we are still in the same game.
That's the theory, anyway.
See, I have to admit, I'm a little cynical about this one.
Really? Why is that?
Well, is touching base actually polite? Or is it just passive-aggressive micromanagement disguised as a polite check-in?
Oh, that's a very fair point.
Because when my boss says, just touching base on that report, they don't mean stay safe. They mean, where's the report? I want it right now.
You're touching on the exact reason it's such a brilliant, effective piece of corporate speak.
The plausible deniability.
Yes, it provides total plausible deniability.
Yeah.
Because the literal translation of the idiom is rooted in safety and casual contact, the boss can claim they were just being friendly.
Even if everyone knows they're actually breathing down your neck.
Exactly. Even if the underlying intention is to apply heavy pressure, they have this linguistic shield. It's a velvet glove over an iron fist.
A velvet glove. I like that. And that iron fist brings us perfectly to the other side of the baseball dictionary, which is playing hardball.
Oh, the contrast here is just brilliant.
Break it down for us.
To really understand hardball, you just have to think about the physical object used to play the sport. A baseball is a dense, solid sphere of cork and yarn, wrapped incredibly tightly in stitched leather.
It's practically a rock.
It is essentially a rock. When it's thrown by a professional pitcher, it travels at nearly 100 miles an hour. It is fast, and frankly, it is dangerous. People get seriously hurt.
The text explicitly contrasts this with softball.
Softball uses a larger, softer, slower-moving ball, which makes the game far less physically intimidating.
So when you rip that physical reality out of the stadium and drop it into, like, a corporate merger.
Playing hardball means you are fully acknowledging the danger and speed of business warfare.
So a company playing hardball isn't tossing you an easy, slow idea to work with.
No, not at all. They are acting aggressively, ruthlessly, and without mercy.
Like, if we are negotiating a vendor contract and I demand a 30% price cut and flat out refuse to even listen to your counteroffer, I am playing hardball. I am basically hurling a dense, dangerous object at your head as fast as I can.
And you are daring them to try and hit it. You aren't collaborating in that moment. You are dominating.
What strikes me is the wild duality of this.
It's quite a spectrum.
The exact same sport gives us the language to say, hey, just lightly tapping my foot on a safe zone to say hello, and also, I am hurling a weaponized sphere at you to force your surrender.
It really is the perfect linguistic mirror for office life.
It totally is. You send a polite smiley face email at 10 a.m., and you are trying to ruthlessly crush a competitor by 2 p.m.
It encapsulates the entire spectrum of professional interaction, all within 9 innings.
So we have routine check-ins and we have ruthless aggression. But what happens when the conversation breaks from the routine entirely?
Ah, the anomalies.
Right. When something just shatters the normal rhythm of the meeting. That leads us to a third baseball concept from the sources, and I think this one requires the most spatial awareness to really grasp.
You're referring to an idea or event coming out of left field?
Yes, out of left field. If you don't know the geometry of a baseball stadium, this phrase means absolutely nothing to you.
It sounds like nonsense. It relies entirely on spatial dissonance.
Explain the layout for us.
Okay, so most of the intense, intricate action in baseball happens in the dirt area, the infield where the bases are.
Right, where everyone is touching base.
Exactly. Beyond that is the outfield, this massive, deep expanse of grass. And left field is this distant peripheral area far away from where the central focus usually is.
So if a player suddenly throws the ball all the way from deep left field into the center of the action.
Well, first of all, it takes a long time to travel because of the physical distance. But more importantly, it arrives from a completely bizarre, unexpected angle compared to where everyone's eyes were naturally focused.
Because everyone was watching the dirt, watching the infield.
Right. So that physical trajectory correlates perfectly to cognitive dissonance in a boardroom.
Cognitive dissonance, I like that.
In business, if an idea or a demand comes out of left field, it means it is completely weird, surprising, and totally disconnected from the context of the current conversation.
The source material gives a fantastic example of a job interview.
Oh, the soup example. I love this one.
Yes. So you're the candidate, right? And the interview is going flawlessly. You are answering questions about your resume, your 5-year plan, your strengths and weaknesses.
Standard infield stuff.
Exactly. And then, without blinking, the hiring manager just asks you to name your favorite type of soup.
It creates total conversational whiplash.
You're just in there like, wait, what?
You are looking squarely at the infield, focused on professional parameters, and an input arrives from a completely different intellectual zip code.
The analogy that comes to mind for me isn't even sports related.
What is it?
It's like if you're sitting in a very casual, relaxed whiteboard brainstorming session with your creative team, just throwing out wild, fun ideas, and somebody suddenly pulls up a massive, highly detailed financial spreadsheet.
Oh.
Like a spreadsheet detailing the amortized costs of the project over 10 years. It's totally jarring.
Right, it ruins the vibe.
It clashes with the entire established reality of the room in that moment.
It breaks the established rules of engagement for that specific context.
It really does.
And frankly, people often use questions out of left field deliberately.
Wait, really? Like on purpose?
Oh, absolutely. Especially in interviews. It's an interrogation tactic. They want to see how quickly you can recover your balance when the context suddenly shifts.
No, it's a test of agility.
Exactly. But we've been talking about accidental chaos or a sudden shift in conversation.
Right.
What happens when the chaos isn't an accident? What happens when the person in charge intentionally alters the reality of your job to ensure you fail?
Oh, man. This brings us to a really dark place in the corporate world. To understand the rigid structural rules of business, we have to leave the baseball diamond entirely and walk onto the gridiron.
We have to look at American football.
Yes, American football.
Football is the ultimate metaphor for the structural hierarchy of a corporation.
Because it's so rigid.
It is a sport defined by extreme rigidity. There are strict formations, incredibly complex playbooks you have to memorize, and literal painted lines on the grass dictating exactly where you are allowed to exist at any given second.
You literally get penalized if your toe is an inch over a painted white line.
Right. And within that highly controlled, rigid environment, we find one of the most evocative, frustrating phrases in the entire American corporate lexicon.
Moving the goalposts.
Yes. The visual of this is almost comical if it weren't so deeply demoralizing in practice.
I mean, just picture it. In football, the goalposts are these massive, heavy, bright yellow metal structures permanently anchored into the ground at the very ends of the field.
They weigh hundreds of pounds.
And the ultimate objective of the offense is to kick the ball through those structures to score some points.
So picture the sheer physical absurdity of this idiom. You are a player. You have fought your way down the entire length of the field, taking hits, getting tackled.
Following every single strict rule in that massive playbook.
Exactly. You are finally in position, you line up the kick to score, and suddenly the referee walks onto the field, uproots those massive yellow structures, and drags them 50 feet further away.
It's infuriating just thinking about it.
It is the ultimate nightmare for anyone participating in a system. It is the definition of structural betrayal.
In a corporate translation, moving the goalposts means unfairly altering the requirements, the rules, or the conditions of success after a process is already well underway.
Right, making it exponentially harder or even impossible to succeed.
The scenario in our notes is one most office workers know all too well, unfortunately.
Your report scenario.
Yeah. So an employee is asked for a specific report, they work late, they follow the instructions perfectly, and they submit it exactly on target. They hit the goal.
They did everything right.
But the manager looks at it and says, "This is fine, but I'm actually going to need an additional 10-page competitive analysis attached to it by tomorrow."
The definition of done just magically changed.
The goalposts were moved. Now let's unpack the power dynamics here, because I think that's the core of why this phrase is so culturally sticky. Who actually has the power to uproot those massive yellow structures?
Well, certainly not the players on the field.
Exactly. A junior copywriter can't move the goalposts on a creative director.
No, it only flows in one direction.
Only someone in a position of supreme authority has the ability to alter the fundamental geometry of the game.
That's right.
This idiom perfectly captures the existential dread of middle management and junior employees. You can do absolutely everything right, play perfectly by the rules you were given, and still lose.
Because the authority figure decides to change the definition of winning mid-flight.
Which brings up a critical point for you, the listener. Is this idiom actually a covert survival tool?
A survival tool. I like that angle.
Think about the modern workplace. If your boss is being wildly unfair, changing your KPIs, your key performance indicators every 3 weeks, you can't exactly walk into human resources and complain.
No, you definitely can't.
You can't say, "My manager is a cruel, capricious person who enjoys making me suffer."
You'd be fired by the end of the day.
Right. But you can go grab a coffee with a colleague in the break room and say, "I'm exhausted. Management just keeps moving the goalposts on this project."
Ah, I see. It provides a completely socially acceptable way to vent about profound unfairness.
Exactly. It cleverly depersonalizes the conflict. It shifts the blame.
You aren't attacking the boss's moral character. You are merely critiquing the shifting rules of the game itself.
It allows the employee to express deep frustration while maintaining that protective veneer of professional objectivity.
That's brilliant. But, when authority constantly moves the goalposts, the pressure inevitably mounts.
Oh, definitely. People aren't machines.
Right. And when you squeeze people that hard for that long, eventually human error occurs. People crack. Mistakes happen.
It's inevitable.
So how do Americans culturally handle failure in this hyper-competitive, gamified environment?
That requires looking at the anatomy of failure through the lens of polite accountability.
We are talking about the phrase to drop the ball.
Yes, to drop the ball. The physical mechanics of this one are pretty broad because it applies to almost any sport involving throwing and catching, really.
Football, baseball, rugby.
Right. But the premise is deeply reliant on the concept of teamwork. Your teammate threw you the ball, implicitly trusting you to catch it so the play can advance.
But you fail.
You fail. It slipped through your hands, it hits the ground, you have failed your team and ruined the play.
The translation to the office is a direct one-to-one mapping. You failed to do a job, you forgot a crucial responsibility, or you made a careless error that negatively impacted your colleagues.
The example we have in the sources is missing a massive expensive printing deadline simply because you forgot to send one final confirmation email to the vendor.
Right, a small mistake with massive consequences. You dropped the ball.
Big time.
But what is incredibly important to note here is the psychological framing.
The sources explicitly point out that this is a polite, accountable way to admit you messed up.
Yes, let's look at why it functions that way, rather than just sounding like a total confession of incompetence.
Because walking into a room and saying, "I ruined everything because I am careless," doesn't preserve your job.
No, it really doesn't. When you admit you dropped the ball, it subtly diffuses the anger in the room because it frames the mistake as an accidental slip.
Like, oops, my hands were slippery.
It implies a momentary lapse in physical coordination. Gravity took over. The ball just slipped.
It frames the error as an accident of physics, not a deep character flaw or some malicious act of sabotage.
Exactly. It communicates I was actively part of the play. I was trying to execute my role for the team, but in this isolated moment, I fumbled.
So it shows you were at least trying.
Yes. It remarkably manages to reinforce the team mentality, even in the exact moment you are admitting you let the team down.
It reminds me of the difference between intent and accident.
Give me an example.
It's like the difference between saying, my hand slipped while I was dusting your very expensive vase, versus saying, I consciously chose to throw your expensive vase against the brick wall.
That is a phenomenal analogy.
Okay.
In both scenarios, the vase is shattered on the floor. In both scenarios, you are the one responsible for the shattered vase. But one explanation preserves the interpersonal relationship, while the other completely destroys it.
So dropping the ball allows you to essentially fall on your sword and accept blame while completely preserving the collaborative relationship.
It is a highly engineered, elegant way to apologize in a corporate setting.
It truly is. It's fascinating how much work those three words do.
However, we have to look at the immediate aftermath of that apology.
Oh, the fallout.
Yes. You admit you dropped the ball on Tuesday afternoon. The relationship is temporarily preserved, but what happens on Wednesday morning when the rest of the office starts analyzing your mistake by the coffee machine?
Ah, yes. This is where we encounter the most specific, deeply cultural idiom on our entire list. The cult of hindsight.
We need to unpack the Monday morning quarterback.
This one is wild to me. If you don't know American culture, this sounds like absolute gibberish.
Total nonsense.
Let's look at the temporal anchor of this, because it relies heavily on the actual schedule of American entertainment.
Right, the days of the week matter here.
Professional football games are traditionally played on Sundays in the U.S.
Correct. And on the field, the quarterback is the single most important player. They are the team captain.
They touch the ball on almost every play.
Exactly. They are the ones with the radio headset inside their helmet, making split-second, incredibly high-pressure strategic decisions, while massive 300-pound defenders are actively trying to crush them into the dirt.
Sounds like a relaxing job.
Right. It is a job defined by intense pressure, limited information, and immediate brutal consequences.
So the quarterback does their job on Sunday. The game ends. The sun rises the next day. It is Monday morning. And millions of fans, people who are not professional athletes, people who are sitting safely at their office desks drinking lattes, fiercely, loudly criticize every single split-second decision that quarterback made the day before.
It's a national pastime.
It really is. So the translation to the corporate world is a highly specific label for a person who unfairly criticizes someone else's decisions after an event has happened, using the luxury and benefit of hindsight.
For instance, the business press aggressively tearing apart a CEO for a product launch that ultimately failed.
Even though the CEO made the absolute best, most logical decision possible with the limited information they had at the time.
Exactly. If we dig into the temporal nature of this idiom, it reveals a profound truth about corporate structures.
What's that?
Well, as you said, it is literally anchored to the days of the week. Sunday is the arena of action. Monday is the arena of judgment.
Oh, I like how you frame that. Action versus judgment.
It highlights
The tension between the person actually taking the risk and the person just watching the risk being taken.
Precisely. It is the friction between the doer, the project manager, the CEO, the literal quarterback who was under fire in real time, and the observer, the media, the armchair expert, or that one incredibly annoying coworker who always mysteriously knows exactly what should have been done after the disaster is already over.
We all know that one coworker.
Oh, everyone has one.
But when you really strip it down, the underlying premise is absurd.
How so?
The image of a guy in a cubicle, adjusting his tie, yelling about how a peak athletic specimen should have thrown a football into a tight window. I mean, it's ridiculous.
It is deeply ridiculous.
Which makes me wonder, is this phrase just the ultimate conversational weapon?
A weapon.
Is this the absolute best way to shut down an unhelpful colleague who is just trying to sound smart after the fact?
Oh, it is devastatingly effective for exactly that reason.
So it works.
Calling someone a Monday morning quarterback immediately strips them of their assumed intellectual authority. It loudly points out that they are criticizing from a place of absolute safety, not a place of vulnerability or action.
It basically says, You didn't have to make the call when it actually mattered, so your criticism right now is entirely invalid.
Exactly. It shuts down the unhelpful noise and defends the person who actually took the risk, regardless of the outcome.
Okay, so we've covered the routine check-ins, the ruthless negotiations, the cognitive whiplash of surprises.
Structural betrayals of rule changes.
Right, and the elegant apologies for failure and the annoying critiques of hindsight.
We have been through the absolute ringer of the American corporate game today.
We really have. But business isn't entirely about surviving mistakes and fending off critics.
No, eventually you want to win.
Ultimately, people are trying to achieve victory.
Which requires us to shift to a new environment entirely. To look at the ultimate victory, we look at basketball.
My favorite sport.
Ugh.
We are ending on the absolute guarantee of success. The slam dunk.
The physicality of the slam dunk is what makes this metaphor work so perfectly.
Paint the picture for us.
So you have a very tall, incredibly athletic basketball player. They jump high into the air, physically rising above the defenders.
Defying gravity.
They take the ball in their hand and they aggressively, forcefully smash it directly downward right through the metal hoop.
The physics of the move dictate that there is virtually no chance of missing.
Right, because your hand is literally over the target.
It's not a long-distance throw where the wind or a defender could alter the trajectory. You are right at the rim.
It is a spectacular, 100% guaranteed way to score. There is zero friction.
Zero friction.
And this physical dominance translates perfectly into the business idiom. A slam dunk refers to a guaranteed success, an undeniable achievement, a brilliant victory, or a completely obvious, unassailable conclusion.
The example from our source material is great.
Let's hear it.
Imagine you are hiring for a marketing director position. A candidate named Maria applies.
Okay, Maria.
She has 20 years of highly specific experience. She knows your industry perfectly, and she has incredible references.
She sounds perfect.
Right. Hiring Maria isn't a gamble. It's an obvious, flawless move. Hiring her is a slam dunk.
What is truly fascinating to me is the emotional contrast here.
Contrast with what?
Contrast the absolute dominant certainty of the slam dunk with the profound, lingering anxiety that underlines almost every other idiom we've discussed today.
Huh. I hadn't thought about that, but you're totally right. Everything else we talked about has an element of fear, risk, or defense woven into it.
Exactly. Let's review them. When you are touching base, you are hoping you aren't being annoying.
Or managing passive aggression.
Right. When you are playing hardball, you are risking losing the deal entirely.
When things come out of left field, you are disoriented and vulnerable.
When they move the goalposts, you are fighting structural frustration and unfairness.
When you drop the ball, you are actively apologizing for a flaw.
And the Monday morning quarterback is judging your past mistakes. All of those interactions involve deep friction, resistance, and the very real looming possibility of failure.
But the slam dunk has no friction.
None. This isn't about avoiding a dropped ball or playing desperate defense against a shifting goalpost. This is about absolute, undeniable, guaranteed success.
It is a moment of total clarity and dominance in the corporate arena.
It is the moment everyone in that glass boardroom is striving for every single day.
And honestly, it is a very fitting note to end our breakdown on, because for you listening, mastering this vocabulary is in itself a slam dunk for anyone trying to decipher and integrate into American corporate life.
Absolutely. If you can deploy these phrases correctly in your next meeting, you instantly bridge a massive cultural divide.
You sound like an insider.
You signal to your American colleagues that you understand not just the literal English words, but the underlying psychology, the pacing, and the power dynamics of the environment.
So let's bring all of this together for the listener. We have taken a massive journey across the metaphorical playing field today.
It's been quite a ride.
We started by exploring the necessity of the casual check-in, just touching base to keep the rhythm of the office flowing smoothly without causing alarm.
We then escalated into the dangerous, high-velocity aggression of playing hardball, where the polite veneer drops and true negotiations begin.
We looked at the spatial geometry of baseball to understand the jarring cognitive whiplash of a question coming out of left field, shattering our established context.
We analyzed the deep structural unfairness and power dynamics at play when authority figures begin moving the goalposts, changing the rules of success mid-game.
We explored the delicate sociology of polite accountability, learning how to gracefully drop the ball by framing human error as a momentary lapse in physics rather than a fatal character flaw.
We armed you with the ultimate conversational defense mechanism to call out the Monday morning quarterbacks, protecting the risk takers from the unfair judgment of hindsight.
And finally, we culminated in the absolute certainty, dominance, and victory of the slam junk.
Wow.
As our mission for this deep dive set out to prove, understanding these idioms does far more than just improve your listening fluency.
It genuinely unlocks the cultural mindset of the American workplace.
It's a whole different way of thinking.
It reveals a culture that inherently views commerce, negotiation, and daily professional interaction through the lens of a highly structured, fiercely competitive, yet ultimately team-oriented game.
And that framework brings me to a final thought I want to leave you with.
Ooh, all right.
Our source material poses a great practical question about how you personally handle it when someone moves the goalposts on you. It's a great question about resilience.
It is.
But I want to build on that and leave you with a broader, perhaps more provocative philosophical question to mull over on your own time.
Let's hear it. I'm intrigued.
If the American business world is so completely filtered through the metaphor of sports,
Right.
if the entire system is linguistically designed around strict rules, clear winners, clear losers, and aggressive competition.
It's all about winning and losing.
Right. What happens to the human concepts that don't fit neatly into a game?
Oh, wow. That is a profoundly important question to ask as we look at the modern workforce.
Right. Like, how do things like long-term mental health or chronic employee burnout or genuine uncalculated empathy survive in a culture that linguistically frames everyone's livelihood as just another match to be won or lost?
It's hard to be empathetic when you're supposed to be tackling someone.
Exactly. If our entire professional vocabulary is built for scoring points, playing defense, and dominating the opponent, are we inadvertently gamifying our own lives to the point where we forget we are actual humans, not just players on a field?
It absolutely makes you wonder if the linguistic uniform we put on every morning is actively shaping the reality we experience rather than just describing it.
The words we use matter.
They do. If all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. If all you have is sports terminology, every interaction looks like a competition.
It's definitely something to keep in mind the next time you step into the office.
Just remember, you're human first.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive.
Thanks for having me. It was a blast.
And to you listening, keep an ear out for these phrases in your next meeting. I guarantee you will hear them everywhere. And who knows, maybe next time you walk into that standard boardroom, you'll be able to spot exactly what kind of jersey everyone is secretly wearing under their suit.